Hey, how you doing? Okay, so we are on now the last of the videos I'm going to make in this Getting Started series with Solar2D. This is video 8F, 8 being chapter 8 and the deployment, and F is my little mini part of that process. Today we're going to focus solely on the iOS or Apple Store and building process to get an app from your computer and local environment out into the store and published for members of the public to download. So I'm going to be working across my PC and my MacBook Pro, so the video will be a little bit different to what you normally expect from me. So we're going to jump straight on. Oh, before we do that, don't forget, hit that subscribe button and help me out on my channel. That's greatly appreciated. So here we are on the chapter 8 deployment. We are literally on the build and publishing, and we are looking at the iOS store here right now. So whereby on Google Play we had to do a signing app process, here they call it provisioning and building. So we're going to go straight out to that page, and we are going to have a look through what this is all about. Now Apple is a little bit more complicated. Okay, so creating certificates is the first thing that we need to do. All right, so we need to have an Apple developer account, which we're signed into, which is fine, to be able to publish to their store. Once you're registered and logged in, you can navigate to certificates, identifiers and profiles dashboard, and that's when you can actually start the process. So before we do all of that, let me just check down. Obviously we can choose between basically debugging and testing or actual proper production and distribution. So that's development or a proper submission. So that's the two different situations. I haven't looked at this in so long. So in here we have to create a Keychain access tool that uses the utilities folder on my MacBook Pro, which we'll go through in a second, and that creates the certificate this time, and it will encrypt things with some of the details that we give it, so just a bit like what we did before but in an Apple environment. And then once we've done all of that, we'll be able to generate our certificate, and once we've done the certificate, then we can do the build process. So jumping on over to my MacBook Pro. Certificate IDs and profiles, it wants us to go to that certificate section. So when it opens, that same menu is on the left hand side. Okay, so going back to the top here, then it wants us to click on a button to create a new certificate, and then we need to choose whether it's going to be in development or production. Now, so production is submission for the App Store itself, okay? If you want to do a development or a test area on your own devices, that's what this section here is for. The ad hoc, where it says here, limited to a number of registered devices, think of you as being a business who has created your own team members or staff app. Then obviously you wouldn't want this available to the entire world and the public, so you would limit it to a number of registered devices, which would be your staff mobile phones. So that's what that there means. So we're going to look for App Store and ad hoc. So going back, create a certificate, App Store and ad hoc, so sign into our iOS for submission to the App Store and ad hoc distribution, click continue. Now we need to choose the file, but we haven't yet created the certificate, so this is when we need to go back and create this signing certificate. Okay, so I'm going to go to my MacBook. Now I've actually cheated. If you look down here, I've saved this because I've done it so many times in the past, but if you haven't got access to this quite easily, if you go to Finder, and when you're on Finder you go to Applications, down the bottom here you will have utilities, and when you expand that, in here you will find your Keychain access. All I've done is open that and saved it to my desktop to make my life easier. So here is my Keychain access. It saves everything that whenever it, like, you go somewhere or like you log on to a site or whatever, it asks you if you want to save it in your Keychain. This is where that information ends up. I've got no certificates, no keys at the moment, and these are things that I've done in the past, so we're not going to worry about that just at the moment. Okay, so let's close that screen. All right, so in here, oh, sorry, my bad. In here, now what we need to do is go to the certificate assistant, and we're going to need to request a certificate from the certificate authority, and at which point, when we've done that, it's going to ask for our email address, our common name, which is the company name. I also throw in the app name because of following this process each time, and then we need to save it to disk. So going back to my Keychain, we're going to go up to the file menu up in the corner, and then we've got the Keychain access menu, certificate assistant, and then down to request a certificate from a certificate authority. When that pops up, it's going to ask for my details. So I'm using the same email address that my Apple account uses to log on to. Okay, and I'm going to save it to disk. And then I also put in here Star Explorer. Starship, wasn't it? Sorry. Ship. So I always put the common name as my name and Starship Explorer, and then I know exactly which one's for which app that I'm building. So I'm going to click on continue. It's going to ask me to save that file again. At the very beginning, make sure you've got the dot signing certificate extension at the end. Let me just show you that on the right hand side. So it's a .cert signing request file. I'm just going to go back to the beginning of this naming convention and just add the file, the app name, Star Explorer. Okay, it's quite long, so I'm just keeping it a bit shorter. And then as you can see, I'm on my desktop. This is the location that I always store my bits and bobs. So I'm going to go into my Keychain, and I've obviously, where I've done this in the past, let me delete the previous one. And then I'm going to save my certificate there. Okay, so your certificate request has been created on disk. Fandabidoza. Okay, get rid of that. And there we go. That's the certificate. There's my public key and private key, which is a pair. And we need to still get it into the computer here. So what's next? It says click continue, generate a certificate, and then upload it. So we need to go back to our Apple Store. And now we need to upload it here. So choose file. There it is. It's a bit of a narrow page. Let me see if I can just, now you can see the name in full. So Star Explorer, that's the one I've just created at 9:31. And if you look at the top corner there, it's today's date and it's a minute ago. So I'm going to upload that. I know I've got the correct file, and I'm going to click on continue. And then I'm going to download that certificate, and you should have seen it just pop up there. Right, so I'm going to go to my downloads, and I'm double clicking. Okay, and now you can see in my certificates, there is the certificate. Obviously it says my old business name, so I haven't changed it with the Apple Store yet. But there you can see my actual personal with the private key that we just created. So I'm happy with everything there, and obviously I've got a green tick to say that certificate is valid. So this section has successfully done. So we can go back to all certificates now. Now we need to create an ID. Okay, so you can see where I've been doing things in the past. So I'm going to click on new. It's an app, so I don't want any of these other components. Click on continue. It's an app, and then I'm going to call the app Star Explorer now. And obviously this is that package name that we learned before when we was doing it for the other two stores, but it's everything in reverse. So .com dot even Zeta Design Studios .starship explore. Explorer. There we go. So I've got fat fingers, but we got there in the end. Now, capabilities. Having done this a couple of times to do a test run to make the tutorial, I know that our app doesn't have any of these functionalities. It doesn't use the weather, it doesn't use Apple's wallet, it doesn't use Siri, it doesn't need us to sign in. So many different features that Apple services come with these days. We're not using the game center or family control. So basically, you can have a sort of a browse of that in your own time, but we don't need any of those services, nor do we need the app services here. So aside, we don't need any of these. So I'm just going to go straight up here and click continue, and then register. Okay, and now we should see, where are we? Star Explorer, there we go. It's now listed as an identifier, which is great. And then profiles. This is the last section that we need to do. So let me just catch us back up to here because I've gone quite quickly. So we don't need to register any devices because we are not doing any test environments or
we're not using the ad hoc services. So we need to come down and do the app ID, which is what I've just talked you through. So that was the identifier, where I've had the description and prefix and the services that I've just talked you through. And then I've clicked continue, submit it, and then back in the app screen we can see the new ID should appear, which it has done. So that section's good. Now we're coming down to this bit where it says create the provisioning profile. So we are going to go back out to our account, create a profile. Now we're not doing anything for development, so I can ignore that. So we're looking at distribution, and again, we're not doing anything ad hoc to registered devices. We're not doing the TV or a Mac app or a developer ID. So we're looking at the App Store, and again, it says there, create a distribution provisioning profile to submit your app to the App Store. So I'm going to click on that, click continue. Now we get to select that ID that we've just created. So I'm going to click on continue. My organisation certificate that we just created, and you can see it's 365 days from now it expires. So that's today's date is the 8th of November. So this expires in 1 year yesterday, if that makes sense. Click generate, and then I'm doing this profile for Starship Explorer. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to generate it. It says double click and install the provisioning profile. So it would have come up here. Oh, sorry, it hasn't done it yet because I haven't clicked download, but there you go, download. Now it comes up here. So I'm going to double click. Okay. And we will know in a second if that exists. So now we've created our provisioning profile, which is all very good. And then because we're skipping the development section, we're distributing straight to the App Store. Basically, it says we need to give it a profile name, which I did do just a second ago. I've downloaded and I've double clicked it. Back in the developer portal, I should click done. And then the new profile should appear in the list marked active in the status column. Okay. Then finally, to associate the new profile with Corona, we need to restart the Corona simulator, which I'm going to do in just a moment. And then the profile should appear under the code signing identity in the build process. So I'm going to double check that bit, step 4, in just a moment. So let's just check step 3 right now. That is active and the state in the status column. So come back here, we go back one step. Okay, so if we look here now, that is our profile. If I click on it again, just to go back in, and it says status active. Okay, I don't want to remove it. I don't want to edit. We've already downloaded it. Now, before we go and start, in fact, I'm just going to close. I didn't realize it was going. So I'm just going to quit out of Corona Solar2D right now. But before we do any of this, this is where I find the frustration a little bit, because it doesn't actually tell you that we need to now create an app listing in the App Store. So it might have changed since they wrote this. But we need to go back up here to our developer account. Go to account. Okay, before we do anything, we actually now need to create a location for the app to be sent to, because otherwise it just fails when we try to send it to the App Store. So you can see that these are apps that I've got going on in the past, things that I'm working on. So I'm just going to click on a new app. Okay, it's for iOS. It's Starship Explorer. I'm English UK. Now we can have the bundle that we've just created, so it now will tally this up. So in a moment you'll see why this is needed. Now it does ask us for that SKU number. If you remember me saying about this in the Amazon Kindle deployment, Amazon's platform makes this optional, but the Apple Store requires this. So all I literally do is Star Explorer. It needs to be unique. So as we haven't loaded anything up with this name so far, we can go away and fix with this. It's just fine. We don't use it for anything. It's this Apple's need. And then user access is full access to the app. Create. We'll give that a second or two. Okay. So now you can see up here it says Starship Explorer. So we are ready to upload the listing and the description, the keywords, and this, that, and the other. So before we do anything else, I'm going to jump onto my main computer now, and I'm going to fill in as much of this as possible before we now do the build process.
Okay, so I'm back on my main computer and I've logged on now to my App Store so I can create this listing. I work on my PC a lot quicker than I do on my Mac, and also my Photoshop is installed here, so I need it to create these assets. So that was the listing that I just literally started to create whilst on my MacBook. So we're going to open it up. There's nothing in there. It's not been populated with anything just yet. So having a quick preview now while I go and create the assets, we have the actual iPhone and iPad. So here, because I remember I wanted to do both of them. So those are the sizes. We need between 3 and 10 shots there. We've got the promotional text, we've got description, so that's 170 and that's 4,000. Keywords to help people find the app itself. If there's any URLs, that's just going to be my main website. I haven't got like a marketing URL or anything different. And that's my copyrights, so that's the same as I would put on my website. So I'm just going to create those assets, and then we'll be back in a few seconds once I've populated those things, and we can continue on with the listing. Okay, so I've literally just taken a few minutes to populate this. So we've got 3 different phones that we need to populate for. Let me just move my screen. Okay, so we had to provide images for the iPhone 6.7, 6.5 and 5.5. Now on the iPhone 6.7 and the 6.5 I've used the same images. That was quite quick and easy, but they do actually require, if you look at the little demo, they do have a different format. So you just basically have to go into your simulator and copy the screen and make a different version. So I had to then upload and make the iPhone 5. In the iPad section, we have 2. We've got iPad Pro 6th Gen and 2nd Gen, both of a 12.9-inch display option. And again, I only had to create 1 set of iPad images there as well. So that is what I have done, and I've uploaded it on both accounts. And you can actually change the order. The same with all app stores, by the way. Whatever order you load things in, if it's not the order that you want, you can drag things around to make it more user friendly. So I'm just gonna double check that. Right, okay. Next we've got promotional text. That's that little 1-line sort of explanation. Then we've got the description that I've just copied and pasted from the others. Some keywords, my website URL, it's version 1.0, and that's my copyright for my business. We're not providing an app clip, we're not doing anything with iMessages or Apple Watch, and then we need to actually get the file into the store, which is why it's saying see upload tools. We're not using the Game Center. We are not requiring anybody to sign in before they can use the app. And release version, basically the moment the Apple Store okay it, I've said automatically release this version. So before we do anything else, I'm just going to hit save. Now I know that my listing exists, okay? So what we're going to do now is I'm going to jump back onto the MacBook, refresh my page, and now we can use the build process and the transporter to get the app created and then sent to this app listing right here. So remember, the Solar2D notes don't say that we have to do that part of creating the app listing, but through trial and error, if we don't have a destination, the transporter process sending the app to the store fails because it's got nothing to pair the code with and make sure it has a destination to land at. So onto my MacBook. Okay, so all I've done is just refresh the page from where we left it, and now you can see the app listing that I've created. So now that we've got that destination, what we need to do is just catch up where we were on the notes. So now we've basically can start this build process. So just in the same way that we would start it with the others, we're going to open the Corona simulator. We're going to open the Star Explorer app. Okay, with this now obviously showing, we can go into the Corona simulator and go down to build iOS. Okay, so we've got the Starship Explorer. It's our 1.0. I can't remember what I've done in the past, so I might have to change that. We're using iPhone and iPad. Obviously that was our file destination. Our provisioning profile now exists. I'm going to leave the SDK as default there. Save to folder. This is my Dropbox folder. Why is it? There we go. And as I've done test versions, so let me just, I'm going to cancel out that just so that we don't cause any problems. I'm just going to go into my Dropbox and delete the previous versions. So there we go. Let me just delete those because I've done some test runs before filming. Okay, let's close that.
So now we are in our Dropbox. I'm just going to double check I'm in the right place. There we go. Nothing exists, so we're in the right place, and we're going to send it to the App Store. Now sometimes this means that my transporter opens and sometimes it doesn't. So just before we go any further, I want you to know that I have Xcode. Even though we've not got it open, I am signed in to Xcode right now with my my Zeta Designs email address, which is the same that I use for my Apple ID. Okay, and I'm also signed into Transporter. Obviously there's nothing there, but you can see there that it's the same ID. That's really important. And obviously I've got my Mac operating system is up to date. All of the software is up to date for Xcode, Transporter, Solar2D, and my Mac operating system. So we can now come back over here and click on to build. And with a little bit of luck, we should be able to go through this process. Now it does take a couple of minutes, so I might need to pause the video and restart it. You can see that things are happening. It's now compiling the assets. That's all of the icons that we created a few videos ago. So it's doing its thing. Okay, so this is my MacBook Pro's password, and always allow. Might ask me again. Okay, it didn't. That's fine. Okay, so it says the build is completed. So far so good. Click on continue. All right, so I'm just gonna come out of here. This is just showing it's now built inside my Dropbox. So let's close that. Here is my transporter. I'm gonna add the app. Okay, so it's already defaulted to Dropbox because this is where I always store things. That's the, oh no, wrong. Where are we? It's Starship. There you go, sorry. Amazon, where's it gone? There we go. Couldn't see too many options, but there we go. Select the file, click on open, and this is where we hope it now arrives at our destination. Yes! Okay, so we can now deliver the app to the App Store. So I'm going to click on deliver. Okay, so it was delivered successfully with a little green tick on the 8th of November at 10:08 in the morning. Okay, and then we can see the log. Not that the log actually means a huge amount unless you want to sit there and read through it, but essentially it just explains that whole process through. And then if you wanted to, we can view it in the App Connect store, or we can remove it from the transporter. So let's go click on the App Connect store. Okay, we're waiting for it to list. There we go. So this is the listing that we were working on a minute ago. You can see it's all coming up here now. Oh, I seem to have lost my subtitles, so I might have to go and fix that in just a second. We've basically got to go through and finish the app information, so let's just do that now. So Starship Explorer arcade game. Okay. Primary category is going to be games. Subcategory is action, I should imagine, and we have another one. I'm going to put strategy. Secondary, I don't think there's anything else that's relevant, so I'm going to ignore that. It says optional, which is fine. That was the SKU that I've already given it. Copyright, set up copyright information. No, it doesn't use third-party content or access anything. Aging across the platforms. So it doesn't have any of these things, so I've just got to go down and click, and this is one step out of about 3 that we have to do. Stop and stop. Next. Then age rating doesn't have any web access, no gambling. Again, because of the challenges I've had in the past, I've put 17 plus. Okay, just so that I can get this submitted to the App Store. I'm going to save that for you guys now. Most of this now I should be able to complete on the rest on my normal computer because the file is actually in the App Store. So I'm just going to pause this here, and then we're going to pick this up from the PC. So I have just refreshed the page.
we was just completing this bits of bobs from my MacBook Pro. So pretty much everything else now can be done from my PC. So pricing, we're going to add pricing. I think I'm in the UK, so I'm just going to go with the UK. Where are we? GBP, BP. I never know which country, United Kingdom, whether it's pounds. I don't even know how we're listed. There we go. Right, price is going to be 0. Next. Okay, price obviously for all these other countries is going to be 0 because we're doing a free app. There we go, so that's the pricing schedule. App availability, so determine where the app will be available to purchase. So I'm going to set up all countries and regions. They allow 175 countries and regions, so I've got no restrictions there. Your app availability changes could not be saved. Try again later. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, let me go back. All right, let's try specific countries and regions for a second. Okay, I'm going to say all of Europe, Canada and the US, Africa and the Middle East, Latin America and the Caribbean, not Caribbean because I'm English, it's Caribbean, Asia and Pacific, and make your app automatically available in future App Store countries or region. Yes, we can. Next, and confirm. Okay, seem to happy with that process. Pricing availability, let's just go back. So those two first sections are done. It says manage as a yellow. Let me just see what's going on because it did give me a yellow. Available for, oh, it's just confirming, that's okay. Just wanted to, I like green ticks, so it was just threw me out for a second. Let me just go back one step. Okay, so iPhone and apps on Silicon Mac. So I'm going to leave that, make it available. I'm going to leave this as default. Distribution is public. Latest compatible versions. I don't think we need to touch anything yet. It's fine. So all of that is good. App privacy. So my privacy policy, I need to edit it just as I did on the others. So privacy policy, copy, go. Okay, privacy policy, that's my URL. There's this optional, so I don't need to worry about that. Save, so that's that done. App Store is designed to be safe trusted. After getting started, you'll be asked to provide some information. So we need to do this questionnaire. So we do not collect any data. That was quick and easy. Product page review, data not collected. Data is not collected, that's fine. So ratings and reviews. Unable to add for review. The items below are required to start the review process. You must choose to build. There are still screenshots uploads in progress. Oh, are there? And before you submit this app in review, an admin must provide information about their app's privacy practices. Have I not saved something in the privacy section? So let me just go through and double check everything. So, add build. Ah, that's why my app is not there. Oh, so I've uploaded it, it's picked it up, but I haven't physically added it to the listing. So that was quite quick and easy. Sorry, that's my bad. So save, let me just make sure everything is fine there. Now I did do the privacy, let me make sure I haven't saved or missed something. So no, it does say price schedule, all is good. So now I'll try that again. Add for review, if it's happy now. Still doesn't like it. Okay, what am I missing here? Add privacy. Oh, publish. Publish, that's maybe I haven't published it. That might be it. We'll try again. Give it a second. And we'll add for review. Well, that's at least we've got one of them gone. This field is missing export compliance information. Okay. There are still screenshot uploads in progress. So what is uploading? Still like that one. So let's close that. Use a file. I think it's a Starship one. I'm not sure quite why that was not happy. Okay, that should solve that problem. But then that last one here, so this build is missing an export compliant information. What is that? So let me just save where I'm at the moment, and then export compliance, everything here, that's optional. Routing, optional. None of these are relevant to us. Missing compliance. Okay, so none of the algorithms. We are not using any of these things, so none of the algorithms. Save. There we go, now the yellow warning's gone, and we should now be able to... Told you I like green ticks. Okay, so there we go, we can submit this now to the App Store, and that is job done, she says, for the App Store. Now we have to wait for it to be reviewed. So now you've seen the process entirely for the Apple environment, along with a couple of the headaches. And the only thing that I would say is make sure that before you do this, you do that step to add the listing in the App Store before you try to use the transporter. Otherwise, it's looking for a pairing where the other half of that pair doesn't exist, and it will cause you frustration because the Solar2D notes don't mention that. I think they were written before that process has come about. So yeah, that's it. I hope you found this really helpful, and I will do a follow-up video in about a week's time once all of those apps have been accepted at the App Store. Hopefully they're accepted at the App Store. Okay, take care. Bye.